different PEMDARs have come forward and said, we have this ability, why not incorporate it?
Is that your hierarchy?
Actually, it's similar to a president.
Do you have like, obviously, is it set up the way we have? Do you have presidents and kings or
No, we just have one person we answer to. It's the PEMDAR,
pin dog, right?
and he is or she is burdened with the responsibility of law for infrastructure, movement, and they're just randomly selected from the population.
Right, right. And obviously they're on Earth, are they? Or is there do you know anything about the inner Earth or anything like that? Is that actual true?
The Earth is not completely hollow.
Yeah.
We mirror the cities just like you do on the surface.
Right.
Where cenotes or sinkholes have, appeared in different parts of the world, those tunnels have long since been abandoned, so there's no need of worry there.
Right, right. And are we in danger or are we all coexisting? Is it?
We've been coexisting since before your species actually came down from the trees.
Well, like you say, if you can give us a bit of a history lesson of.
I actually wrote down some notes just so
Yeah.
I wouldn't get tangled. I'm not the best public speaker, as well, you obviously know. So, what would you like to know? Origins?
Yeah, obviously, do you descend from dinosaurs? Is that true?
Yes.
Yes, yes. And can we ask, did you go in the Earth when there was a cataclysm? Or in a cavern, did you escape the cataclysm?
The cataclysm, that's a whole different subject.
Right.
It's not what you think it is.
Right.
There was no meteor.
Mhm.
There was no, yes, meteors do hit the Earth. look at Tunguska. It's no different.
Yeah.
However, it's not possible for it to wipe out an entire, planet of life.
Yeah, yeah.
If that were the case, none of us would be here.
Right. Right. So it just, like you say, you did you mix with Earthlings or humans? And what do you call yourself? It's Sumerians, isn't it? Or what is it you like to call yourself?
Saurians.
Saurians, sorry, that was it. Saurians. To clear a few things up, do you actually feed off humans? Is that true?
No.
No, that's just a myth.
Yeah. We eat meat and vegetables just like you.
So you don't live off human blood and virgins and stuff like that, as they say.
No.
No, I'm just clearing it up so everyone understands.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah,
we're not demons. We can't fly.
Right.
We're not trying to take over the world. Well, like I said, there's been a few Saurian interviews,
Yeah.
but not a lot of us, just because of all the skepticism and the fear. We base our interviews on, who's ready to hear and who's ready to accept, that the hominid or the human is not the pinnacle of existence.
Yeah. Also, can you shapeshift? Is that a myth or is that possible?
Full Saurians can,
Oh, sorry.
and it's through mimicry.
Right. And how does that work, if you don't mind?
Chromatophores.
Right. And who were they? Sorry.
No, chromatophores. They're in your skin too.
Right. Okay. I didn't know.
When you go out in the sun, you get tan, correct?
Yes.
That's your melanin.
Yeah.
And those cells expand and create color.
So
it's no different from us.
Right. So you can do it like a chameleon effect and activate that whenever you'd like.
Yes.
Right. Oh, right. That's like an octopus sort of thing.
Kind of.
Yeah. Do you control the leaders in the countries?
Absolutely not.
No.
No, we don't. We do have influence, though.
Yeah. So
yep, just like you can go to, your politicians or your senators and say, hey, I feel like there should be, better streets or better water. We can do the same.
And can you tell us anyone who is a reptilian? Is there anyone in power? Is Trump a Saurian or?
No, he's not.
No. But is Hillary?
No. However, people close to them are.
Right. So they're just the face of it and people behind them. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you like wipe yourself from history? Did you destroy all the statues and art that was
No, everything's been moved underground to our cities.
Just to hide it from the humans.
Yes, because I mean, look what's happening in Egypt.
Yeah.
ISIS is destroying historical statues that, resemble not only us, but, other beings as well.
So
And
why?
they're trying to wipe history.
So is that have ISIS on the side of the reptilians? Tribes
Well,
of the lost tribes of
13
Israel.
tribe, yeah, the lost tribes of Israel, the 13 tribes of Israel, they're actually, long-standing and long aware of our presence. However, they are one to themselves.
Right. So do they live in the hollow earth or
No,
in caverns? No, no, they're still on Earth.
they're still on Earth.
Right, right. Um,
I would suggest you look up in the mountainous areas. Well, it's not so much as hiding as a meeting place that's pretty much neutral ground.
right,
In the uppermost chambers, you have places where we can go and meet with politicians, meet with presidents, and discuss, our concerns as well, because this is a place we do share.
yeah. Do you get special treatment in civilization then, or are you treated as everyone else?
I'm a face value. I'm just a normal person
So you
doing
see,
normal
you
things.
have to get a job and you're not given money or anything like that off them?
Nope.
No, no. How do you find a partner and all that? Do you have to find a one of your own kind, or do you have to find a human, or can you mate with anyone?
As a hybrid, I can mate with anyone.
Right, right,
However, I chose, my mate 17, 18 years ago.
right. So
And,
how come you don't look like the typical um, green, scaly skin and all that, if you don't mind me asking?
well, I do have the eyes.
Right,
However, I took more after my mother.
right. So it's just, can you be born like half scaly and half not? And can you have
Yes.
deformities?
No, not really deformities, because you're integrating your genetic code with a broader spectrum of genomes.
Yeah,
So there's less chances for, misshapen limbs or whatnot.
yeah, like you say.
But one thing that does carry through is the negative blood types.
Right.
And unfortunately, if I ever needed a kidney or a liver or whatnot, I would have to find another Saurian to get one from.
So is it true that you're all rhesus negative?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And anybody that does carry the negative blood type does carry a trace of reptilian DNA.
Right. Mind reading abilities.
Yeah, gleaning.
Gleaning, sorry, that was it. Can you tell us about that, please?
Basically, the eyes are the windows of the soul. Um, I'm not trying to sound derogatory, so please don't take it this way.
It's okay.
But you, for example, you were designed to be an open book.
Hmm.
You are a genetically engineered species. This is our planet of origin.
Right.
We do have other colonies.
Yeah.
However, you know, when the Elohim came and sped up your evolution,
Who's that? Sorry, just stop there. Who was that?
the Elohim, you refer to them as the Nephilim?
Nephilim, yeah, yeah. So that's not you then. That's not you. I thought that was you.
No.
No, right, right. So who was that? Who was that?
Well, the Nephilim,
Yeah.
they're actually another species. I'll get into that later.
Right, okay, yeah.
But, you were designed with specific flaws,
Hmm.
basically so you could be easily controlled. And that was not our design. That was them. Um, in that, I don't even know how to try to explain it without being upset, but we walked amongst your oldest tribes,
Hmm.
the Japanese, the Chinese, South America, Egypt,
Hmm.
all of, you can look in there and see that we're incorporated into the temples, we're incorporated into the history,
Yeah.
not only as gods, but also companions, friends. But it wasn't until, in England and in the Americas especially, that we were vilified by, the great serpent, which is incorrect.
Like George and the Dragon and all that sort of thing.
Correct,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And the serpent people and
And
like the
because it
devil.
was
Is that the devil? Are you supposed to be the devil?
in some books, yes, we
Right.
are, but
Yeah.
it's not true.
But
You know,
obviously,
we
there's good
are.
and bad in everyone, isn't there? There's. Yeah. So can I just ask? You said it was England and America that started to vilify you. Is that
Mhm.
true? Can I ask why
Yes.
what that why that was? Was they just scared of how many numbers you
Well,
were getting?
it actually started in the Holy Roman Church,
Right.
and they did not want to negotiate or talk with us. And
Okay.
we were, it took the power away from them, I believe, and they felt threatened and basically personified as us as evil.
So do you think as the church is your enemy?
No.
No. Is everything sorted now? Is that?
Well, it's not just sorted, it's just you need to educate.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm here to do.
Mhm. That's it. Yeah. If you can tell us more, that's fine. That's great. Tell us.
Um, well, well, I could start with the origin story if you like.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's a bit long-winded, so I do apologize in advance.
Don't worry, people will love it. People will love it.
Okay. Around 65 million years ago, our ancestors from the dinosaurs died in a great war. Hominids have explained this as an asteroid hitting Terra. This is what we call Earth.
Hmm.
However, this is incorrect. An asteroid did hit, however, it did not end life, or none of us would be here. Tunguska is an example. According to our histories, there are two alien groups, and they're still in a Cold War state. The names of these races are non-pronounceable for me. One race is humanoid, much like hominids today. Other species we do not know much was a reptilian species, but they're not related to us, or Saurians as well. Their origins are not of this universe, but another plane. You view the universe as a giant hollow sphere. It's more like a book with pages. Each page is a dimension. Some alien species can travel between those pages where others cannot. We have built colonies in what is Antarctica today and lived together with hominids without issue. Two races arrived here, and they were only interested in resources, especially the copper. Everyone values gold, but you will come to learn that copper is much more valuable, especially in the near future. Everyone values gold, but again, once you realize the true value of copper, it's gonna blow your mind. It's primarily used in the creation of electromagnetic fields, which allow us the power of flight without propulsion.
Anti-gravity.
hmm Both species were fighting for copper during this fight, and the fusion bomb was released. It was detonated in the ocean in the area of the Gulf of Mexico. However, when the weapon was released, it produced an unpredictable reaction with the water, and it was much stronger than anticipated. One of the byproducts was iridium. So scientists now realize, oh, iridium, was a product of an asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. No, it was actually a side effect of the bomb, kind of a fallout.
Right.
Um, after that, they pretty much lost interest and left us alone. So, over the next 20 million years, we reclaimed the surface, but our infrastructure was so developed underground, we only came to the surface to forage for food and for farming. 50 million years after the war began, we began manipulating surface species. That's where hybrids became a part of the subspecies of Saurians. 10 million years ago, small simians began to venture out, but they evolved very slow, as the normal way of things. About 1.5 million years ago, another alien species arrived, and lost my place. You'd be surprised how many species there actually are. They found simians were interesting, so they modified them. They began to play with their genetic code. Our presence was already founded at this point, but the Logim decided to play with you guys instead. You were to be served as future slave soldiers in a future war. Mammals evolved over 150 million years, but only in the last 2 to 3 million years, you became intelligent enough to create civilizations, and you believe you are the apex of your world. Accelerated evolution is not natural. Humans were designed without mechanisms of protection in their subconscious, which is naturally occurring in us. You can be aware someone is trying to manipulate your mind, however, there is nothing you can really do about it. The only side effect you get is an overwhelming sense of suspicion. To avoid this, to avoid being read, you can just flood your mind with just random thoughts like flowers and what you ordered for lunch and just random junk. However, stronger people or stronger saurians or stronger hybrids can easily see through this. It'll be just like throwing a pebble into a stream and watching the mud come up. That mud is your latent memories. It just takes a little bit more time.
Okay.
Well, that's
So,
a brief history.
wow, that's fast. That's amazing. So, what's your plan? Are you trying to take over? Are we living coexisting now? Is that the plan? To all
Yeah,
coexist?
we don't want to see our natural resources go away.
Right. So you want to protect the
No,
planet as well?
yes, think of us as conservationists.
Right. Yeah.
However, there are 14 different species that interact with our planet.
Right.
3 of those are considered very hostile.
Right. Is that the greys as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's one of them.
Right. Are they
Um,
your enemies as well, the greys?
yes,
Right.
the Greys are working with, several of your governments.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think I've heard that before, Yeah.
Yeah, and they're trading technology for copper.
Right. Right.
And they're also interested in basically the hydrogen in our water as well.
Right.
Um, we do share technology to a degree.
Yeah.
However, a lot of our technology is incompatible, but it's estimated around 2019 we should be able to incorporate ours with yours.
All right. Right. And also Atlantis, was that? Do you know anything about Atlantis?
Atlantis was actually a legit place.
Yeah.
It was just east of just east of the Bermuda Triangle.
Right. Wow.
However, they were experimenting with fusion and copper generation. I can go into, the mathematics of that if you like.
No, you're all right. You're okay.
Do you know the states of matter?
Mm, no. Do you mean solid, liquid, and everything like that? Gas?
Hmm. There's
Um,
2 more.
no, that's it. Light. I don't know. Is that?
Oh, plasma and post-plasma.
Sorry, no, I didn't know them too.
Well, I won't go into the 5th because it's a little heavy.
Right.
So we'll talk about the 4th. Well, plasma is the special form that exists between physical existence and the sphere of influence. Your military has been experimenting with the tech for a while, but passes the information to your public as extraterrestrial origins.
Okay.
Especially triangular ships. That's not us. That's not anybody. No one. That would be the equivalent of you driving a heart-shaped car around.
Mhm.
It's just not aerodynamic. It's no.
Yeah.
Um, Once you figure out how to avoid the instability with the containment field and the radiation, it won't be a problem. All this can be avoided by using the fluctuation at the right angle with the radiation field. Here, matter is fused. But because of the lack of containment, you continue to move the plasma into a higher functioning condition, and that causes, radiation poisoning.
Right.
It resembles closely to a gravitational shift as the poles will reverse if done correctly. The shift now allows the flow around the outside of the field instead of the interior. This allows movements of massive objects. This is not unlike the way the pyramids were constructed when we worked in tandem with your ancient tribes.
So you built the pyramids?
We helped.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Corresponded with constellations in the sky, believing, with those ancient tribes, they wanted to, develop their astronomy. They wanted to know, where are your planets located? Where are your colonies? And we directed them and said, you can do here, 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 and
Yeah.
that's what they did.
So
Now, I
like,
wasn't alive then, so I can't really
yeah.
vouch for that.
No, yeah, I understand. It's like you asking me every human history. I don't have a clue. Um,
Well, the biggest thing is everything has an energy information equivalent.
yeah.
So
So,
if you're here on this physical realm, on the paralayer, you also exist, but you exist as pure energy.
yeah.
Different species can I would say transmogrify, but let's say they can step between the two and not have
Okay.
any consequences. Whereas if you were to go to the paralayer, your physical body would be destroyed.
Right. Is that anything
So,
to do with the third eye? With
no, that's more
the
on the
pineal
spiritual.
gland? Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, the pineal gland,
Yeah, the
yes.
pineal gland. Yeah.
Um, just like you, we have 2 parties as well that help, talk about things and to rectify problems. But our parties don't fight; they work in tandem to with another.
Yeah. Well, you've been around longer than us, so you've obviously matured more, haven't you?
Well, in your age, I'm 36.
Right. And how old are you in your age?
Uh, uh, 38,276 cycles.
Is that years? The
No,
cycle.
that's no. We base because everything's underground. We base our age off of the different shifts in the magnetic fields.
Right. Wow.
I've reached the age of enlightenment.
Right, okay.
Um, I
And
did print
do
out.
you have religions among
Yes,
different
actually,
religions? Are the Earth
this.
like the Earth?
Yep, this is our religious symbol.
Right.
The colors have special meaning for us. Well, if you look at your wrist and you flex your knuckles towards you,
Yeah.
you're going to see tendons. Those are called your uh, palmar flexor tendons,
Yeah.
and that is a remnant of your ancestors that would brachiate through trees. I lack those.
Oh
I
yeah.
have none.
Yeah. No way.
And this is our scientific group.
Right. And what does that symbolize?
The dragon represents our people.
Yeah.
The blue field represents the universe,
Yeah.
and the seven stars represent our seven colonies.
And where are you? 7 colonies.
Well, we have Moon, Mars, Venus, the four moons of Jupiter, and Saturn.
Right.
Two of those are not in use to this day, so five stars would actually be more accurate.
And is there humans on the planets as well?
No,
No. So this is sort of like a mixing pot, Earth. Is this
uh,
the only place we
think of them
mix?
as uh, think of them as observation stations.
Right. And do they look down on you because you're mixed with a human?
Actually, no. I'm actually one of the kind of envied because I can traverse between both.
And is there? Can I ask
Like
where?
I can be on camera and not have to worry about having to fool everyone about my appearance. They were just you guys were just another species just out there in the world, no different than deer or a possum.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because we are genetically incompatible with the elogium,
Hmm.
you know, your human genome was.
Right.
So when they began manipulating that, you guys began making societies, civilizations, been organizing.
And did,
Used to be, you know, fruit and nut gatherers. Now you're living in penthouses in New York City.
hmm
Your people came together in societies.
Right.
We
Right.
then taught them how to cultivate
Yeah.
water systems, aqueducts.
Yeah.
You know,
So can I just ask? Obviously, if the Nephilim come down, this is something I've never understood. If the Nephilim came down and mixed their DNA, how come we get so many different races of human?
it's simple. It's evolution.
Right. So can you
Like you
tell?
would work if you lived in the middle of Africa. You would need darker skin, or you would get sun poisoning every single day and die.
Right. So what did the
You know,
first human look like then?
like monkeys, I
Yeah.
guess. like,
So that's
like
it.
Bigfoot.
So is it like Neanderthals and mixed with a Nephilim blood, or was it actual monkeys? Was it humanoid
Actually,
sort of creatures?
the one you call Lucy,
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, it's
yeah,
something like that.
she was one of the first
Right.
to
Okay.
experience to have that transition
Yeah.
or that influx of new DNA,
Yeah.
and through your females, you can actually you know, pull that information through the mitochondrial DNA still in the cells. It goes all the way back to her.
Wow.
So she is your genetic mother.
So can you glean
Genomes.
without being a reptilian or having reptilian genes?
Yes, it's capable of everyone.
And
It's just a matter of opening your mind.
can you teach that to people?
I can,
So like
but
that.
it might give you a migraine. It
Right.
involves a lot of concentration.
And can you tell people the name of your channel so they can
Oh,
subscribe
reptilian hybrid housewife.
and they can subscribe and check you out? So is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I mean, on my channel, I talk about just stuff that as a reptilian hybrid housewife would.
Hmm.
Um, I do post some reptilian things, and I just live my life, raise my children, and do what I'm supposed to do.
Good. Well, it's nice meeting you, and
You too.
hopefully we
And
can
I
have
didn't
you
mean to
on.
scare you.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And if you'd like to, we can have you on next month or something like that.
That'll be
See how it
fine.
goes. All right then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. It's Mel, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mel.
Throughout the ancient world, we see the symbol of the serpent. Many scholars have been puzzled by the worldwide use of this monolithic symbol. Intertwining serpents were a symbol of life and death from Mesopotamia to the distant lands of Mexico. This symbol spread with the gods and from one end of the earth to the other as a result of religious significance to the religion of the Druids. Not only was the symbol of the serpent very important to the Druids, they actually referred to the members of their order as Nadards or Nadreds, meaning adder or serpent priests. In many ancient myths and legends of people of the world, there are tales told of men that had the blood of serpents. In myths from all over the world, you will see that people are half serpent, half human. All of the big name civilizations from the one end of the world to the other share this motive in common. Sometimes these beings will have their head of a serpent on the body of a man, or the head of a man with the serpent legs. In some legends, these people look like a slightly reptilian you and me. In other legends, we have been handed down that there are whole tribes of people that have serpent heritage. Perhaps there is more to this myth than fantasy. In many ancient cultures, the gods and heroes were often depicted as part snake. In the earliest legends of Greece, Cercerops, the first king of Athens, was known for being part snake. The meaning of his name might have meant face with a tail. It is said that his top half was that of a man, and his bottom half was a snake. He was known for bringing civilization to the Greek people. In Egypt, the serpent goddess Wadjet was depicted as a woman with the head of a snake. Sobek, the crocodile-headed god of Egypt, should also be linked here as well. In China, Fu Xing and his wife Nuwa are depicted as humans with intertwining serpent torsos. In Mexico, Quetzalcoatl could take the form of a serpent and a man. This is a common motif around the world. In many legends, ancient historians spoke of entire nations of the serpent people. In the Bible and other traditions of Judaism, the serpent people take the form of the sons of Cain. In this tradition, the sons of Cain are primarily represented by the Amalekites, the most fearsome and hated of the enemies of Israel. According to the Bible, they are literal people that have within them the blood of the serpent. In the Hindu religion of India, there is a race of men known as the Nagas. The origin story of the Scythians, also known as the Saka, were described in detail by Herodotus, the Greek historian. The Greeks of Pontus give a different account of Scythia and the country beyond it. According to them, Hercules came into this part of the world, which was then uninhabited. When Hercules reached the country that is now Scythia, the weather was bad and it was bitterly cold, so he drew his lion skin over him and went to sleep. While he slept, the horses which he had unharnessed from his chariot and turned loose to graze mysteriously disappeared. As soon as he awoke, Hercules began to look for them, and roamed all over the country until he came at the last point called Hylia, or the woodland, where in a cave I found a viper maiden, a creature which from the buttocks upwards was a woman, but below than a snake. For a moment he looked at her in astonishment, then asked if she had seen his mares straying around. She replied that they were her own keeping, and promised to return them in one condition, that she lay with her. Hercules complied. The Viper woman, however, did not at once give him back the mares, but put off fulfilment of her bargain in order to keep Hercules as long as possible for her love. Though all he wanted himself was to get the horses and go, at least she let him have them, and said, "I kept these horses safe for you when I found them here, and you have given me my reward, for I have 3 sons by you now. Now tell me what I must do with them when they are grown up. Shall I settle the boys here in this country, of which I am the mistress, or send them to you?" When the boys are grown to be men, Hercules answered, "You will not be far wrong if you do what I will tell you now. Whichever of them you find can draw this bow, as I do, and put on this girdle in the way I show you, should be settled in this country. But any of them who have failed to do these things must be sent away. Do this, and you will not only show proper obedience to me, but find happiness for yourself as well." Hercules then strung up one of his bows. Up to that time he always carried 2, and he showed her how to pull on the girdle, and went away. The girdle had a little gold cup for the tongue of his buckle. When the boys grew up, their mother named the eldest Argyriphus, the next Gelonus, and the youngest Syphes, and carried out instructions which she remembered Hercules had given her. 2 of the young men, Augustus and Glanius, failed to accomplish the task assigned to them, which they had foretold, and banished to the country by their mother. But the youngest brother, Syphes, succeeded and allowed to remain. In this way, Syphes, the son of Hercules, became father of the line of Scythian kings, and to this day the Scythians wear belts with little cups attached, in memory of the belts their ancestors Hercules. What Herodotus had to say about the origins of the Scythian nation is very telling indeed. First and most important, he equates the Scythian, Saxons, with being part serpent. Indeed, the matriarch of the Scythians was half snake. The serpent blood is connected by Herodotus to the royal bloodline of the Scythian kings. The Merovingian dynasty, and ancestors of much of today's royal families, was said to be descended from the Merovi, and their legends founder, and a sea beast. This is another tale describing the Scythian royalty as a hybrid species. Furthermore, these men are associated with a particular cup that they all wear on their belt buckles. We have learned that this cup is a symbolic of the blood of the king in the form of the Holy Grail. The blood in the cup stories show up in British Isles today Arthurian legends. Science has identified this royal bloodline as the blood type O rhesus negative, the universal donor. The symbolic drinking of royal blood ritual has been present in the world religions since far back as 8,000 years ago in the Tel Hafi period of ancient Mesopotamia. Le Grand Zombie is the major serpent spirit of worship among New Orleans voodooists. In New Orleans voodoo, snakes are not seen as a symbol of evil, as they are in the story of Adam and Eve. Snakes are considered to be holders of initiate knowledge, knowing that which cannot be spoken. Women often dance with serpents, Voodoo's rituals in New Orleans almost always include a snake dance to celebrate a link to the ancient knowledge. The origins of Le Grand Zambe can be traced to the serpent deity Zambe from Africa. Ra was the solar deity, bringer of light, and Apep was viewed as the greatest enemy of Ra, and thus given the name Enemy of Ra, and also Lord of Chaos. As the personification of all that was evil, Apep was seen as a giant snake or serpent, leading to such titles as the Serpent of the Nile and Evil Lizard. Some elaborators said that he stretched for 16 yards in length and had a head made of flint. Tales of Apep's battles against Ra were elaborated during the New Kingdom. Storytellers said that every day Apep must lie below the horizon. This approximately made him part of the underworld. In some stories, Apep waited for Ra in the western mountains called Baku, where the sun set, and in others, Apep lurked before dawn in the 10th region of the night. The wide range of Apep's possible location gained him the title World Encircler. It was throughout that his terrifying roar would cause the underworld to rumble. Myths sometimes say that Apep was trapped there because he had been the previous chief god overthrown by Ra, or because he was evil and had been imprisoned. The Egyptian priests had a detailed guide to fighting Apep, referred to as the Book of Overthrowing Apep, Book of Aposis in Greek. The chapters describe a gradual process of dismemberment or disposal that include spitting upon Apep, defiling Apep with the left foot, taking a lance to smite Apep, fettering Apep, taking a knife to smite Apep, putting a fire on Apep. In addition to stories about Ra's winnings, this guide has instructions for making wax models or small drawings of the serpent, which would be spat on, mutilated and burnt, while reinciting spells that would kill Apep. Fearing that even the image of Apep could give power to the demon, any rendering would always include another deity to subdue the monster. As Apep was thought to live in the underworld, he was sometimes thought of as the Eater of Souls. Thus the dead also needed protection, so they were sometimes buried with spells that could destroy Apep. The Lethian of the Book of Job is a reflex of the older Carnate Lothian, a primeval monster defeated by the god Hadgad. Parallels to this role of the Mesopotamian Tiamat defeated by Marduk have been drawn in comparative mythology, as have been wider comparisons to dragon and world serpent narratives such as Indra slaying Vrtra or Thor slaying Jormungandr. In the Hebrew Bible, in Psalms 104, God is praised for having made all things, including Lethian. In Isaac 27, he called the torturous serpent who will be killed at the end of time. In Greek myth, Typhon was terrible, outrageous and lawless, and his shoulders were 100 snakes' heads, and emitted fire and every kind of noise. Typhon challenged Zeus for rule of the cosmos. Hesiod's terminology gives the first account of their battle. According to Hesiod, without the quick action of Zeus, Typhon would have come to reign over all mortals and immortals. Defeated, Typhon is cast in Tartarus by the angry Zeus. In the early Vedic religion, Vrtra is a serpent or dragon, the personification of drought and adversary of Indra. In Hinduism, Vrtra is identified as an Asura. He appears as a dragon blocking the course of the rivers and is historically slain by Indra. According to written accounts, Vritra kept the waters of the underworld captive until he was killed by Indra, who destroyed all the 99 fortresses of Vritra. Before liberating the imprisoned rivers from this feat, Indra became known as Slayer of Vritra and also as Slayer of the Firstborn of the Dragons.
We shall never surrender.
There is an extinct dinosaur called Stenonychosa that, according to Canadian scientists, evolved into the reptilian man-like creature. In Gen. 6 we are told that the angels came down and mated with human women, and in turn they women bore giant sons known as the Nephilim. But this does not explain all the half-human and half-animals of the past that were worshipped as gods. But if we look in the Book of Enoch we find a major clue. And they, the Nephilim, began to sin against birds, and beasts, and reptiles, and fish, and to devour one another's flesh, and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. Obviously giant men cannot have sexual relations with a fish, never mind producing offspring. The early records of the ancient submersions record that the gods mixed their DNA with mankind in a more scientific way. In other words, it was done in a test tube. This has to be how the Nephilim corrupted the seed of all living creatures on earth. This is why the flood had to come and clean the slate of this massive DNA meltdown. It also says in Genesis that the angels came down again after the flood to mate and have more Nephilim children who went on to build world empires. It was at this time Israel was to exterminate all the Nephilim tribes around her, which were over 20 in the Old Testament. Not only that, they were not only to exterminate all the hybrid women and children, but they were also called upon to kill off all the animals. They were not allowed to eat the animals or take them. If the Nephilim were still corrupting seed, this mysterious action of killing all the animals becomes very interesting. It becomes clear that the Nephilim were at it again, producing human-animal hybrids. When the angels came down to mate with women, many of them carried reptilian genes as seen with the seraphim who were fiery serpent. Their seed may have produced reptilian Nephilim who then went on to spread their seed among all creatures. From mammals they would produce the giant-sized dinosaurs. From fish the giant sea serpents. One of these sea creatures in scripture was called Leviathan, who breathed fire. Is it any coincidence that it breathed fire if it carried the DNA of fiery serpents known as the seraphim angels? In India, human reptiles are known as the Nagas. Also, there have been many reports of people sighting reptilians in caves. Folklore seems to indicate that there are other reptilian men that live on the earth but cannot come to the surface as the other ones can. They live on the earth as a separate society. Divine creatures from the Old Testament, associated with the cherubim, and later taken to be angels. The root of seraphim comes either from the Hebrew verb saraph, to burn, or the Hebrew noun saraph, a fiery, flying serpent. Because the term appears several times with reference to the serpents encountered in the wilderness, it has often been understood to refer to fiery serpents. From this it has also often been proposed that the seraphim were serpentine in form and in some sense fiery creatures or associated with fire. In ancient times many of the gods were called the Shining Ones. The word Lucifer means shining one. If serpentine angels fell and mated with women in Genesis 6 and had children, obviously the physical offspring would be reptilian by nature. It is said that whoever lays eyes on a seraph, he would instantly be incinerated due to the immense brightness of the seraph. They are described as very tall, with 6 wings and 4 heads, one for of the cardinal directions. 1 pair of wings are for flying, 1 for covering their eyes, for even they may not look directly at God, and 1 for covering their feet, which is almost certainly a euphemism for genitalia. They are in the direct presence of God. In Isaiah's call vision in the temple, he sees seraphim surrounding the throne of God, singing praise to God, the thrice holy hymn. In this instance they are angelic beings, but in the book of Numbers, seraph snakes are sent to punish the Israelites. Some of the seraphim are Metatron, Camiel, Nathaniel, Gabriel, and Lucifer. Many also believe that many of the world's religions are based off the Sumerian tablets. For example, the Old Testament is very similar to accounts in these tablets, almost identical. The Sumerian Empire stretched across through Europe from Babylon and east to a great extent, including India. Now it's interesting to note the religion that not only formed within the Middle East, namely Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, and the religions in India, Egypt, and elsewhere. Zoroastrianism is another one. They all formed within the ancient knowledge of the Sumerian Empire. But anyway, these Sumerian tablets actually refer to ETs and planets outside our solar system, coupled with advanced ancient knowledge forms the basis for these aliens. The reptilian aspect is what they appear to look like. There are many references to reptilians in many ancient cultures. Namely, that there are many revered animals that were reptilian or at least amphibian. So that forms the basis of its assertion. The original aliens, or Anunnaki, that visited this world and mixed their DNA with the already evolving hominids were reptilian.